Hey guys, and welcome to something I have never done before, a build video. So today we are going to be building a PC, not out of the newest components. I'll just explain why I'm doing it. Firstly, that PC there, well, all those components were in that PC as a file server. I think it had like 3 terabytes of storage space. I've actually recently, if I show you that is a 4 terabyte network drive, so it's basically rendered that machine there obsolete in terms of I don't actually need it as a file server anymore. So what I thought is, okay, cool, I'll just use it as a LAN PC. I go around my mates' houses quite a lot and I play games. I could take a laptop. I do have a gaming laptop, but it's got a couple of problems, and gaming laptops are quite expensive, so I don't really want to have to buy a new one. I've already got a laptop I use for everyday stuff. I don't want to have to buy another machine. And I don't know, I prefer the PC gaming experience as opposed to a laptop gaming experience. Maybe you guys don't notice the difference. For some reason I do. I'd much rather sit at a PC playing games rather than a laptop. So when I took it out from below my desk where it was absolutely covered in dust. So dusty. I'd actually only put it in the case probably about 1.5 years ago. But because of where it is, it gets very, very dusty. I also have a cat hair everywhere. So we are going to, I've basically ripped it all out, cleaned all the dust off as best as I could off most of the components. I've still got to clean the dust off the motherboard, and I thought I would show you guys how to put it back together, just give you a rundown of what the components are. If you guys enjoy the video, give it a like. If you want to see more build videos, do mention in the comment section below. It's always good to have an excuse to do a build video. I'm planning soon, hopefully in the future, with a couple of other YouTubers, Digital Coding, who's like a partner channel of mine, my mate Steven, I don't think he has a YouTube channel, and Game Thing Stuff, which is Sam. We're basically planning to build a brand new PC for 100 quid, so hit that like button if you want to see that as well, although it's probably still going to happen anyway. So let me just give you a rundown of what I have here. For the graphics, I've got a AMD Radeon 5770, not the most powerful graphics card in the world, but in terms of the games I will be playing at LAN parties is mainly Gary's mod games, Trouble in Terrorist Town, Prop Hunt, etc. Probably the most demanding game I'm going to be running is going to be Titanfall. So it's not like, apart from Titanfall, obviously, it's not like I'm going to be needing a powerful PC to be doing all this stuff. So 5770 will be more than enough. But even better, 2 5770s. They don't match because that one I bought really cheaply off a mate. He was just like, oh, I have a 5770 spare, do you want to buy it for 50 quid? And I was like, yeah, cool. That was a time when these were like 150, 200 quid. So yeah, they don't match, but they work absolutely fine together. For motherboard, we have an Asus M4A88T-V Evo with USB 3 support. Not the easiest name to say in the world. It's done me really, really well. I do have a couple of issues with it. The main one being, well, the first one, for some reason, the RAM only works in these 2 slots here, the 2 blue slots. If I place RAM in the red slots, it just doesn't boot and gives me an error code. I don't know why. It might be tied down to the fact of the second problem, which is basically if the PC is left turned off for more than 24 hours, it just doesn't boot unless I clear the CMOS. So I have bought myself a new CMOS battery, which I've already lost. Don't know where it is. I'll have to find that, and hopefully that will fix all the issues, because I have been using this motherboard for about 5 years now. So I don't know how often CMOS batteries go, but 5 years seems quite good. There's an I/O plate. Here's our CPU, which is an AMD Athlon 2X4. I'll zoom in on the, place it the right way up. I've lost it. There we go. I believe it is running at it's quad core, 2.5 gigahertz per core. Hopefully I can overclock it to 3 gigahertz. I should be able to, because this quite easy. We have got an enclosed water cooling loop. It's a Corsair something. I'm not too sure what it is. It works absolutely fine. I've actually cleaned it. I'll put a picture. If I put that there, just to the side, I'll put a picture to the right hand side, and you guys will be able to see how dusty it used to be. It was absolutely horrible. So that still works absolutely fine, and it should provide sufficient cooling to allow us to overclock to at least 3 gigahertz, maybe higher. I'd have to get my friend involved in that, because I'm still quite a novice at overclocking. With my new PC, I've got an i7 in it, so I don't really see the point. Nothing I ever use seems to take anywhere near even half the CPU power I've got. This is just a basic DVD drive. For our boot drive, we're going to be using a 120 gig OCZ Agility 3, which I just had knocking about, so I thought, yeah, might as well chuck it in there. 1.5 terabyte Samsung drive for the storage drive. Our power supply is an OCZ Stealth Extreme 600 watt. I don't know what rating it is, whether it's gold, silver, bronze. I'd imagine it's probably bronze. I basically got scared into buying it because my mate showed me some horrible videos on people's PCs blowing up because they had cheap power supplies in them, and I had a cheap power supply, so I panicked a little bit, went out and bought the nearest one I could find. We've got 8 gigs of RAM. That is that. It's DDR3 obviously, but heck knows what it is. Lastly, we've got, well, not lastly, a few 120mm fans for fitting various, obviously on that and elsewhere in the case. And then our case, which is a Cooler Master half something. I'm not too sure what it is actually. I was given it, so it's in pretty good nick. There's a few scratches on the glass panel here, or plastic panel should I say. But yeah, pretty good nick. And for the tools, we're going to need thermal paste, which I got because I haven't needed to use it in years, so I didn't have any lying around. Screwdriver set, various screws. I have a whole box full of other random crap there. So you'll need SATA cables and all that sort of stuff. Scissors. For cutting the cable ties, I'd always recommend making sure you have some cable ties so you can cable tie. And I forgot what it's called now. Just neating the cables. It's called something. Oh, cable management. That's it. So you can cable management the cables in your case. It'll help improve airflow. May only be minor, but I think if you've definitely got like a case with a window like this, it's going to look a lot nicer, so you're going to be able to look in it. If there's just cables everywhere, it's pretty pointless having a window. If you haven't got a window. And finally, I have got some pliers. You never know when they might come in handy. So yeah, I'm going to place the camcorder down, and then we'll crack on with the build. Thumbs up, give us a like, thumbs up, thumbs up.
Right, so the first thing I did was I put the power supply in. I had to remove the top fan because I couldn't fit the power supply cables into the top of the motherboard without removing that fan. I had issues with that later, as you'll see much further in the video. Basically the cable kept on touching the fan. So we're going to put our power supply in first. Then just use 4 standard screws to actually fit it in. So you just want to move the cables out of the way for now. The cable that I am now going to be running around the back of the case. This is the cable for the motherboard, the 8-pin connector for the motherboard. As I said earlier, this cable is like a real bitch to actually get in there, which is why I had to take the top fan out first. So I took the top fan out first, run this cable through, because otherwise it won't fit, even though there's actually a proper hole there for it. And then I had to put the fan back on later. So yeah, as you can see, I'm having a little bit of trouble getting it through there. Now, so I'm just going to mount the top fan back on now that I've run the wires around where the the motherboard 8-pin connector is going to be. So you just need 4 self-threading screws. You guys might actually have a case where you don't actually have to take this fan off because it's a real pain in the ass. And I couldn't figure out which way it went. So I'll speed this up so you don't have to watch me struggle to put the fan in. Right, now that we have the fan installed on the top, it's time for a word from our sponsors. Pepsi Cola. Give them a thumbs up. Yeah, I'm not big enough to have a sponsor. I just wish I could have a sponsor. But Pepsi's awesome, so go down to your local shop and buy a 6-pack of Pepsi right now. Not Coke, because Pepsi's much better. Anyway, now we're going to mount the I/O plate. Really easy to do. Literally just make sure it's orientated the right way and clip it into the back of the case. And then we're going to mount the motherboard next, which again really easy to do. Just face the I/O ports into the back of the I/O plate, push the motherboard down, and then you literally just need to screw it in. On this motherboard I believe there was 8 screws to screw in. So yeah, just you can match up the screw holes quite easily on the motherboard, or refer to the motherboard manual if you're stuck with it. Then we have to mount in the CPU, so you just need to find the little gold triangle and match it up with the socket on the motherboard, and then press the little pin to secure it in. The CPU bracket to hold the CPU cooler in, I didn't actually bother removing from the motherboard when I deconstructed this PC, because it was a real pain in the ass to actually get it on there in the first place. So I didn't want to take it off again. So we just need to then mount the fan onto the radiator before we mount the radiator into the PC case. Make sure it is, depending on where it's mounted, most of the time it's mounted either on the top or the rear. I'm mounting mine at the rear of the case, so you just need to make sure the fan is pointing the right direction to actually take air out of the case if you're mounting it at the back, or out of the case actually if you're mounting it at the top. If you're mounting it at the front, it'll need to be facing to come into the case. There's the airflow in a PC case always comes from the front and expels out the back or the top. Although it would be interesting to see a PC case that does it the other way around, although I've never seen that. someone tell me what the hell this cable is, because I have no idea what it is. It's got like a Molex one end and some other weird connector another end. Like, what is it? I don't know what it goes to. What the hell is it? I don't know. Right, now we need to install the heatsink to the CPU. I do apologise guys, it is quite late and I'm quite tired, but I will soldier on. So we've got our thermal paste, which I neglected to actually open, and I lost the scissors, so I had to open it with my pliers, but it worked alright. So you want to apply this in a cross shape, I believe. That's what, at least that was what I was advised to do when I actually bought the thermal paste from the shop. I always used to use like a credit card or something to spread it, but apparently that puts air bubbles in it and it doesn't actually work as efficiently. So the way I did it seemed to work absolutely fine. Just put it in the little cross, which Right, next you're going to want to tighten the CPU cooler, but not too much, because it will put stress on the motherboard as well. So if you just go ahead and tighten the CPU cooler, and then you'll want to plug in the cable coming off of the pump. Don't forget to do that, it's really important, otherwise your CPU will overheat because it's not actually pumping any water around the system. Next I installed the new CMOS battery into the motherboard. Most motherboards are just a CR203 type. As far as I'm aware, I think all motherboards are CR203 type. But double check your motherboard, what the battery is already on it, or failing that, check the manual, or if you're like me, you don't have any of the manuals. So yeah, just have a look at the manufacturer's website. I installed the pointless DVD drive because no one ever uses them, but it's useful to have for reasons. Alright, next you're going to want to plug in the case connectors, so that's your power switch, reset switch, hard drive LEDs, and there's another one as well, but I forgot what it is. Normally on most motherboards you'll be able to actually see where these go. It's marked on the motherboard itself. It'll say PWR SW. The only one that I think matters having the right way around is the hard drive LED. So if you plug it in one way, if it doesn't work that way, just plug it in the other way around and it should work. Next you want to insert your graphics cards. Both the graphics cards I have are the same model, but they look slightly different, so it doesn't matter which way they go around. Just push them down, make sure they clip in into the PCI Express slots, and then screw them into the back of the case as well. You might have to remove the brackets on the back of the case first. Some of them you literally just push out, or some of them you might actually have to unscrew out. If you're running a Crossfire or SLI setup like I am, make sure you do put the Crossfire bridge on there as well. Otherwise it will only recognise one of the graphics cards and it won't let you enable the Crossfire setup. We now install the hard drive and the boot drive. These are quite easy on this particular case because I've literally got runners that fit on either side of the hard drive. The SSD, this particular case came with an adapter kit which adapted it to a standard hard drive bay. So I literally push them in, push it until it clicks, and then they're actually secured in there. Just want to install the RAM now as well. I believe most motherboards that have 4 slots or more, they'll be color corresponded, so just make sure you plug them into the color corresponded slots. Okay, I'm now going to run the power supply cables through the back of the case, through the nearest cable management hole to the power supply. So once you've done that, then you can actually run the cables through the nearest cable management holes on the back plate of your case to where they actually need to go, because I didn't need to use any of the Molex connectors apart from one on the back, and I had 2 long cables full of Molex connectors. So rather than having them cramming up the case, I just moved them to the back, then at least they're out of the way. And if we ever need to get to them, literally just take the side panel off the back of the case, and we can just thread them through where they need to go. We're just going to run the power cables for the 6-pin power cables for the graphics cards through the nearest slot to where the graphics cards are. So if you just do that now, it'll be similar on whichever case you decide to get as well. I then plugged in the front fan, the top fan, which for some reason was cable tied up. That connector there is for the front eSATA port, which I didn't bother plugging in because I don't own anything that uses eSATA, and I don't plan to buy anything that's eSATA as well. Ideally, if you can connect the top fan, the front fan and the rear fan to motherboard connector, that would be best. Otherwise you can use a Molex to 3-pin adapter. We then plug in our power for our 2 graphics cards with the cable we routed through the back earlier. Next I plugged in the 20-pin connector into the 20-pin power connector for the motherboard. I then realised that I had plugged in the front audio jack, and ridiculously on this motherboard it's placed like under the graphics card. I'll splice in a picture here just to show you where it actually is. It's ridiculous. So I had to take the graphics card out, plug the audio connector in, and then re-plug the graphics card back in. Then plugged in the SATA data cables, 3 of them, one for the hard drive, one for the boot drive, and one for the DVD drive, which as I said I didn't use, and I threaded them around the back and then plugged them into each of the drives individually. Then used a Molex 3-pin adapter to plug in the top fan, I believe, because I didn't have enough 3-pin connectors on the motherboard itself. I then cable tied all the cables at the back to keep them out of the way of the front of the case. All that's left to do now is put the rear panel on and the front panel on, and we're good to go. As I mentioned earlier, I didn't have enough 3-pin connectors, so I've got a 3-pin connector to a double 3-pin connector. So I can connect the front fan and also the fan on the side panel of the case.
There we have it. It's now the moment of truth. Right, I seem to... it's working. It's good. So I haven't got an operating system installed, but I'm still having RAM issues. But I found out... oh wow, the light is bad in here. Basically, you remove one of the RAM sticks. Namely this one in the second blue slot. I don't think it's the slots aren't working, it's just I don't know. So remove the route. Once this has all been set up in the BIOS and everything, this issue won't happen again until the BIOS is reset again. So I remove that one and leave just the one in, and it posts. So now just gotta turn it off the back and put the second stick of RAM in. Oh, this is tricky doing it with one hand. And it should, wait for it, and boom. I don't know why that happens. We also don't seem to be having... right. Oh wow. Right, back in a sec. And we have sorted our fan issue. The cables are so close to the fan, but that's I had it like that for a couple of years and it was absolutely fine. It's basically got to spread out the cables so they don't touch the fan. But yeah, there you go. All the fans are working. So front fan glowing red. Oh wow, I'm still zoomed in a lot. Right, so we've got our rear fan working absolutely fine. Exhaust fan. Front fan working fine. Top fan now working absolutely fine. I don't have a Molex to SATA power adapter there, but I'm never going to use the DVD drive anyway. And just to prove it, if I plug in the rear panel, which I wouldn't recommend doing whilst the system's powered on, boom, the side fan works as well. Got a little adjuster as well here, which is pretty cool. So I normally just leave it at lower speed because this isn't a particularly high powered machine. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed